Hey watch friends, today we're going to check out the latest offering from the strap manufacturer Artem. This is their brand new HydroFlex. As we'll see as we go through here, this is actually their first ever hybrid strap. We've looked at a few offerings, particularly their sailcloths in the past, and I'll bring those in for comparison. But this is kind of cool here because this one actually combines an FKM rubber while it has their sailcloth pattern. So they describe this as being a synthetic material. They don't say the specifics. I don't believe it's actually a sailcloth. However, it looks just like a sailcloth strap. In that sense, it feels like it as well. As you'd imagine from the name HydroFlex, this one is going to be fully waterproof, of course, dust resistant, all that kind of stuff. And in my time with it, I haven't found it to be bad, like, with silicone and those kind of things where it can attract dust. I haven't had any of those issues here. One of the things that we're going to look at, though, is Artem has become known for coming out with luxury type straps. And I wanted to see if this one was any exception here or see how they would take on hybrid, because that's one of my favorite style straps. And I've got to say, the finishing, as we'll see through this video, the finishing is really excellent. It's exactly what you'd expect from Artem. The stitching is extremely clean. Let's get a close-up of that. The holes are nice and tight as far as the cut. Even the under pattern on that. Check that out. That's a very attractive way to do that as far as for the sweat relief and for pliability and all those kind of things. And speaking of pliability, on wrist, these have been extremely pliable, very comfortable overall. There are some slight footnotes to that we'll talk about as we go through. As far as the color options, these are only actually available in 20 millimeter, but they're available in 4 variants as far as color. There is a gray and a green that we don't have here, but these today, as you can see, we have the black and the blue variant, which a Creature Habit will bring in their black and blue sailcloths straps as well. As far as the overall layout of this, these are going to be tapered straps, and that's a twofold taper. So 20 millimeters, of course, at the actual lugs, but then as it tapers down, it's about a 3 millimeter taper. I get approximately 17 millimeters towards the tail end before the aggressive taper off to the point. It additionally, though, is tapered in terms of thickness. So you'll notice at the actual quick release, so at the lugs, it is relatively thick up there, so it is well reinforced. So I expect this is going to be very durable over time. It comes, I think, with a 2-year warranty as well. But that being said, there is a trade-off with that we'll talk about here momentarily. But as you go down the strap, it really tapers aggressively. So I got on calipers about 5 millimeters at the thickest portion, and around 2.5. These are approximate because this is a squishy material here, but approximately 2.5 at the end. So it tapers by about half in size. And as you can imagine, that is excellent as far as especially the tail, because it really increases that pliability. So you're not going to have that oftentimes where you can have the under wrist where it's trying to push away. You don't have any of those kind of issues at all. So that's excellent there. As we've already talked about, these do include standard with quick release spring bars. That's something that hasn't always been present. That's been optional on some of their past straps. That's something that I think is a very welcome feature. To me, you always needed to pick, whether it was an upcharge or not, the quick release. I know there are some people out there who might not like them, but for me, especially changing straps as frequently as I do for reviews or otherwise, it's nice to be able to just pop those off without needing to pull out one of my Bergeon tools, which if you need one, I'll drop a link down in the description. Definitely do grab a quality spring bar tool, even though you won't need it for this one. This does come, though, with a couple different options for your buckles. So the ones that we have featured here today are going to be your stainless steel buckles. And they do actually have 2 variants of the stainless steel. So you have the raw stainless steel that we're looking at, but then you also have a DLC coated version of that's available as well. And then we don't have to look at here, but they do have a deployant clasp that's available also, and I believe that's also in the two finish configurations there. One of the things that's nice is while there is an upcharge for the deployant clasp, and I'm not personally a huge fan of deployant clasps, if you do like them, or if you decide you don't like them after purchasing one, they do actually include this buckle standard as well. So even if you get the deployant, you do still get these, which that's nice that you don't have to make the trade-off there. As far as price point, just like with other Artem straps, these are far from cheap. They're coming in at $218. So for many of you, I know that that's going to be a very expensive strap splurge. That being said, they are marketing themselves as a luxury strap, and I think they live up to it in overall quality. And when you compare this against something like an Omega strap, where their nylon straps are $180, I know obviously that's not the direct competitor here, but just as kind of a reference point, you're talking plain old nylon, which is the NATO style strap, and I'm not saying they're not nice straps, but $180 for that, for me, bucking up an extra little bit to get this where it's going to be much more pliable, I think Personally, I think it's a nicer overall finishing. I'm not as crazy about the black keepers on this blue variant, though, color matching that might have been hard to come up with an FKM. I don't mind at all the black underside, but I don't love that contrast on this. I do prefer where it's the monochromatic for this, but that's going to be down to personal taste there. Some of the notes, though, I do want to mention, as I said we would revisit, with the thickness at these spring bars. While that's great that it is reinforced there, I will say I did have a little bit of a struggle on, as we had popped up with the second hour watch, that was a little bit tight there on that gin clear. So if you have tight lugs or lug hole spacing for that, do be aware it could possibly catch on the case. I will say they rebounded excellently. A lot of times the case will kind of dig in and cut into there. That shows to me part of the quality for it, but it's something to be aware of. I don't think that they're abnormally so, but it is just something to be aware of. If you have tight lugs, you might have issues with fighting those on. That was a fight to get that onto that gin clear, so that's just something to be aware of there. As far as the pliability, it is, as I mentioned, it's excellent with a little bit of a caveat. So as you get down to the thinner side with the nature of having this taper, it's very, very pliable here. It feels so quality in the hand, so nice overall. However, up towards the top, because it's thicker, while it's good that it's reinforced, in addition to the case, as far as if you have lug tightness there, it does definitely lose that pliability. I haven't found it to really impact comfort at all, but it does impact, though, the way it sits on wrist, particularly for tighter lugs. Like with that gin clear, even once I got it on, it didn't really want to have the full flex and wiggle to that. So just something to be aware of. I didn't have that issue on that Tusino that's popped up there. That one fit just fine. So it is going to be very unique and specific to the watch. So not something I can fault the strap for, but it is something I want you to be aware of before you spend a couple $100 on grabbing one of these and find it just doesn't work because you have tight lug holes. So that's something to be aware of there. So yes, you do lose some pliability, but I don't think it negatively impacts because it's still a pretty darn pliable strap overall. And then finally, just the finishing. As I've already had alluded to here, the finishing I think is impeccable on these. And let's go ahead and actually let's look at their sailcloth straps so you can get an idea as far as the visual of how this compares. Let's go color for color, I guess. So here is one of their black sailcloth straps. This is a 22 millimeter. So first you can see just the difference. This, I don't know how much of it is the light picking it up and how much of it is, that this one has been used obviously with curvature and otherwise. But you can see this one has, to me, a little more of a charcoal finish to the eye. It's not as pure of a black. So I wonder how much of that is things have changed in the fact that this is the synthetic material that's not the sailcloth, and how much of that is just due to these specific one-offs. But there's an idea of the liner. Here you can see I did have the quick release spring bars, but you can see I really like the finishing on this. I think it actually looks even more premium, which it does make sense because I think it is like double the price, give or take, for these hybrid ones. But for me, comfort-wise, these are where it's at. I love hybrid straps for exactly that reason. The comfort is fantastic. And then here's one. This is one of the contrast stitched versions, but you can see the blue sailcloth. This one, I don't notice the coloration difference as much. So, here actually, if anything, on camera at least, it does look a little more saturated on the sailcloth. So that's kind of an interesting thing there. So I'm thinking it is possibly just the difference in finish, though. As I turn to this angle, maybe this sailcloth has more sheen and picks up more of the light and makes it look a little different in color there. And then here's again the other side, going to be the same kind of feel there. So overall, just wanted to go through relatively quickly here and touch on some of these things as far as thoughts and considerations. Across the board, Artem has yet to let me down. At the end of the day, I would be disingenuous if I didn't say it is, I think, going to be a hard purchase for many people out there to drop that much money on a strap. I do think you get the quality return. To me, if you're looking for a premium, if you're looking to spend in this territory, I absolutely think that you need to look at Artem. I think they deliver in terms of quality. I think you get excellent straps. They've been fantastic for customer service. They did, as you saw from the banner, they sent these ones in there, but none of that has anything to do with it. I've dealt with them several times, actually even helping out some other folks as well, and they've always been excellent to deal with. So I think they are making good straps. They're just not cheap straps, but they're also not cheaply made. So I think depending on how you're looking at it, if you consider them to be too expensive, certainly there are cheaper options out there by all means, but there are also more expensive options, and I think they easily hold their own against those pricier options too. So there you have it. I hope this video has been helpful for you. If you did like it, give that like button a tap. As always, do smash the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. I'll beat up the camera in the meantime. And then drop a comment. Let me know, what do you think? Do you like this new style? Would you stick with the sailcloths? What color's your preference? All that kind of good stuff. Thanks for watching.